It is September 14th, 2017. This is your host, Amelia Duran. It is Porthole to Justice, the Window to the Truth. And that was a Zeph Daniels tune performed by Patricia Daniels, the lovely Patricia Daniels. And welcome. I hope I get some of my friends back in the chat. So, yeah, interesting times. Boy, oh boy. I have a guest. I do have a guest today. Out of LA. Let's see. We're gonna get the down low. See how's everything going over there. What's going on in LA? One ringy-dingy. Two ringy-dingy.
Speaking.
Hi. Welcome to the Portal to Justice. We're live.
Hi. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, Danny is in Los Angeles, and we work together. We profile cases, and we run the Social Media News Network. So...
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do. So, let's the whole down low. What's going on over there in LA?
Oh, it's beautiful. There's overcast. We just went through a massive heat wave. Other than that, just profiling the cases. A big one was the Colonel, a 30-year veteran. He gets 5.5 years. He had a $5 million pension that they might take from him, I understand, which would be awesome. Mm-hmm. But you have to be doing something very serious and heinous to get 5.5 years. They said he was convicted of not of rape, but then other articles said that he was. They just don't want to use that term as they sentence him. They talk about a penetration with a finger, and that he was convicted of that. But he was babysitting for some other military veterans' family.
This was David Wilson, the mem that I published yesterday, the Marine Colonel. 6 years old, gets 5.5 years, folks, and he's the United States Marine Corps, and this is pretty shocking.
Yes, they talked about the child being traumatized afterwards, and what's her age? Yes, she was 6 years old. Uh-huh. Just very dirty, these people at the top. He was doing some other inappropriate things with a fellow Marine, making comments to wives, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe like sexual harassment. But
they didn't really go into detail. What about the other mem that we published to the port, exposing the New Mexico Air Force nuclear director rapes 4-year-old Adam Lowther? Was he indicted?
Well, yes, he's been arrested. Very long-term military guy. I think he has about at least 15 years in. Nuclear director. Lots of information on him on the web. We don't know how he came into contact with the 4-year-old, but there is a lot of LinkedIn information, about information. He's like the leader. One of probably a very high-ranking nuclear directors. So I don't think they have too many of them.
Again, this is the pedogate, folks. This is the pedogate information that we published to the Porthole to Justice. we follow these indictments, we profile them, and we publish them to the port. Also, we have Mayor Molester, Nebraska, rapes victim for 4 years.
Yeah, Dwayne Schultz.
Yeah.
There's multiple mayors. We understand about 11 of them, past or former mayors, that have child porn. A lot of them are child porn. What these weirdos are doing with this stuff, what other crimes they've committed, we don't really know if there's actual victims, but they're into this stuff, and it's almost like a passage right as they get in these high-ranking positions, that this is just the norm. It appears it's becoming like a normal thing for these people with power that get in these positions. There was also the state.
Schutt was the mayor of Nebraska. He was the mayor of Nebraska, and then we have Ricky Nelson, pedogate, mayor, porn expert, Stillwater, New York, mayor caught with child porn. Ricky Nelson.
Yes.
Wow. That's out of Stillwater, New York, Albany. And this was published in CBS6Albany.com. And we provide links to all these indictments. The state police arrested and charged 62-year-old Ricky Nelson with promoting and possessing child pornography. Nelson has been the mayor of Stillwater since 2015. Police say they executed a search warrant at his home after getting information from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children about possible downloading of child pornography from an IP address found there. Police say they discovered a laptop in his home that contained images. Nelson was interviewed and taken into custody. The economic status, the employment, and the status in the community, all of this is, this is not good.
How many need to be exposed to know that there's a big problem here? Also, the transfer of this child porn web. Where's the liability for the data carriers that transfer this information? I mean, are they just like they're just completely immune, and there needs to be responsibility on their part for the transmission of this stuff and making it available? It's like having all this stuff coming down the river, and they're just ignoring it.
Exactly. And another instance which we had, Danny, we have an obvious hate crime that was published to the internet. A rapper posted a video of himself. Actually, it's a snuff film, a child snuff film with a little white kid, approximately 5 years old, okay? And he's standing on a stage with another black child that they're probably the same age, but probably between 5 and 6 years old. And he puts a noose around the white child's neck and hangs him in front of the other little boy. And this is clearly an obvious hate crime. And I certainly hope that Child Protective Services gets involved in this case, and both of these children that participated in this production are counseled. Unbelievable, like from the bowels of hell itself, the nightmare that we're living in. It's incredible. I can't, this is beyond race. It's beyond that. It is so evil and so just, it's disgusting. I rebuke it. It's a hate crime. I can't even, I mean, literally, they're hosting now online on the internet child snuff.
Yeah, it's a strategy to incite. It's a strategy to incite racial tensions,
race war,
and that's what it's used for.
So badly. It's so obvious. And the other thing is, though, you made a very good point about why are these internet providers hosting this child snuff? We're now hosting child snuff. What Well,
that as well as the porn.
And the child, and the hosting of the child porn, like, it's not even on the dark web anymore. And all of this in the wake of Pedogate, where it's not even a conspiracy anymore. It's not. It's just not a conspiracy. We are actually documenting and profiling this in the porthole to justice on a regular basis. And now they're trying to desensitize us to child snuff. Do you see what I'm saying?
Sure, I just believe that they are allowing this stuff to proliferate and transfer on the web, and data mine people and pick and choose who they bust and who they don't bust, who they may blackmail, they're allowing. The government is literally allowing this stuff because it's big business any way you look at it, for courts, judges, the prison industry. They're able to control politicians by blackmailing them. It's just a huge control factor. There's also Chuck Mullen.
Welcome to the chat.
If you remember him.
Yeah, we have a guest, Lisa. She's joining us. She says Satanism is just running rampant. I mean, it's so obvious. It's just, there's no denying it anymore. I mean, and it's spiritual warfare. We have this Sally Quinn, who is a gatekeeper of Washington D.C. society. She's a socialite, and she publishes a book, and she comes out as an occultist, and she says she uses black magic and voodoo to hex and kill people. I know. What do we say?
I'm listening.
This was published to Breitbart.com. I kid you not.
We're concerned about the foster kids again, and that there almost needs to be an educational course that all foster kids must go through to teach them what SA abuse is and how to deal with it. They need training courses for these foster kids. Imagine going into these foster prisons with strangers and just not being aware of what's going on or having anything tangible to reference this. But I'd almost demand that all foster kids go through courses what types of abuse are and how to protect themselves. They need a defense. They need to be educated, and they need a defense as young as possible as to how to defend themselves, because they have no lines of defense and are just twisting in the wind.
Define their own boundaries as little people. They're going into these foster care situations. Oftentimes they're ripped out of the home unceremoniously, and they're placed into these foster situations where right off the bat they're being objectified for federal monies that is going to these foster parents, and oftentimes their motives and objectives are not in the best interest of the children. And like Danny said, they're being placed in known pedophile ring homes. And this has been going on since I've been aware. We've been doing this for 7 years?
Yes, and it's obvious that this is just business as usual. Nobody will make a change in any policies or procedures. Nobody. So it's just a runaway train of mayhem and torture of children in the system.
There's no oversight. And when there has been audits in the past and recommendations for new policies and procedures, they don't implement them. They've never implemented any of them. In fact, in the past, they've written up stories where they've failed to implement any of the audit recommendations. And this is the norm. This is the norm for years and years. What was that? Hello?
Yeah. Yes, we're clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have a missing teen, and she is, her name is Ariane Noel. The Longueuil agglomeration, and this is French, guys. So agglomeration police service, SPAL, known as SPAL, is looking for Ariane Noel, age 17. This one was last seen August 30th in Vue, Longueuil. The SPL is soliciting your help because she has health and safety concerns, and she could be compromised. She could be anywhere in the greater Montreal area. Anyone seeing Miss Noel is asked to contact 911 immediately. She is not... oftentimes, when people think of Amber Alert, they think that it's something that's available to all citizens. And that's not the case. Amber Alert is only available to children that are in the custody of Child Protective Services or government custody. When children go missing from government custody, then there is an Amber Alert put out. But for normal, everyday civilian children that go missing, these services are not provided. So we provide these MEMS on the internet, and Ariane Noel is missing. She was last seen on August 17th. And if you do see her, there's a photo of her in the Porthole to Justice. If you do see her, please call 911 because she does have health concerns. So, yeah, thank you for that. And what else is going on?
Wanted to get back to the foster kids. We want trials by jury. We want cameras in the court. We want the child abuse to be taken out of. We want the dependency cases placed in a criminal court where they belong, not in a civil court. And no hearsay admissible, cameras in the court, and monies be spent to keep families together. They don't get a dime until they take the child, so that's the incentive. Get rid of the adoption incentives. Just very basic human rights stuff is what we're asking for. It's really simple and basic. Get trials by jury, get rid of hearsay admissibility, and do not remove the children from any family unless there's a criminal charge and clear signs of abuse. And that's not what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Less than 3% of parents are ever charged with the crime, yet their children are still taken and placed in a situation where they're 6 to 10 times more likely to suffer all forms of abuse. And it doesn't even have to be the fosters. It can be another foster kid. It can be a relative. It can be a babysitter. Nobody watches over their kids better than the parents, and that's just what it all comes down to. Parents just naturally have a better eye over their kids than strangers.
Well, they're less likely to be harmed with family or biological family or parents. So go ahead and keep going. I am going to try and post this episode to the port so we can get more listeners joining in. What other cases do we have going on right now?
There's just a lot of cases of child torture and abuse. It's just off the charts, and it's very difficult to keep track of them all because there are so many. But we just we want to black eye the foster industry. We understand some children do need to be removed from situations, but we're just asking for criminal charges first. And if we could, because foster traffickers, even the good ones that are all nice, they're all guilty by association. They're all contributing to this agenda, and that's an agenda to strip people, children, families of their constitutional civil rights. Don't give them a jury, allow hearsay admissibility, and deny due process. So,
what do you think?
Because
eventually, I mean, we've archived mountains and mountains of evidence and information. What do you think eventually this will all culminate to? Because there is so much incriminating information out there. Do you think that the people will eventually all become aware, and the authorities will have to work collectively to shut down child protective services? What do you think? What would be the ideal?
Well, I think on their side, they're going to still want to put out the money, but a lot of it is foster caregivers. If they understand that they're putting this demonic entity into their family when they take in a child, and basically colluding with an evil agenda, there will be less. There's already a crunch for foster parents, so they're always trying to advertise that. Maybe they'll try to give them more money or any kind of bonuses they can give them. But that's really the only thing that's going to change things, is to force them to use the money to keep the family together. Use the $7,000 to $12,000 a month they get per child. Use it to keep the family together and not apart, unless there's a criminal charge of abuse. But I don't see them changing course. I don't see any government officials standing up. I don't see anyone because they'll lose their job. It's Nancy Schaefer lost her job. She asked others to help her. They said they would lose her job if they did, and those people that are silent are just as guilty. They condone it.
Yeah, do you want to explain who Nancy Schaefer was? Who she was? Nancy. She was a senator. Do you want to explain who she was?
Yes.
Her story briefly. I'm
sure.
finally posting.
Sure.
This.
Georgia senator. Spent about 4 years witnessing what was going on. Basically, was going to Washington, had a lot of the things that we're asking for. She was asking for trials by jury. She was exposing how dangerous it was. And, so her and her husband...
She was actually calling it a legalized pedophile ring, wasn't she? In her address,
kids for cash. Just that there were quotas that were expected based on population. So there's quotas to traffic literal children volumes based on the population of areas, and this is done by DHS.
American Safe Families Act in 1996, which was put into place by President Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary Clinton, and synthesized the removal of children. And Hillary Clinton then legislated for the social workers' right to lie. And you can look up that case, Vreeken versus Hardwick. And the constitutional right to lie, to remove these children, is also a very controversial topic. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that.
Nancy was going out on a limb. She felt she was a little more protected because she had people within her family that were judges or high-ranking officials. But when it all was said and done, her and her husband appears to be murdered with an unmarked gun at their house, and a huge cover-up by the GBI, it'd be Georgia Bureau of Investigations, and so she thought she had a little more, didn't maybe not know how dangerous it was where she was, but she was somebody that was going to bring a light to a dark area on a high level, being who she was, a woman of pure integrity and heart, and did not care about jobs, her Georgia senator job, when it came to the health and welfare of the children or families.
Yeah, really sad story. And I think we're going to be I think I'm actually going to be profiling this on Saturday with Lunch with Lotus. This story of the Honorable Nancy Schaefer, Senator Nancy Schaefer out of Georgia. It was a murder-suicide, apparently, but nobody believes the official story. So we're going to go into that a little bit, and a little bit about her presentation and her work within Congress and what eventually led to her losing her seat.
Her movie never came out also. She was caught up with a shady producer of the movie. Bill Bowen was killed like 6 months later on a golf course by himself. We feel he was likely murdered alone. Bill Bowen doing an expose on Child Protective Services. Mm-hmm. He has a Innocence Lost series. You can find that on YouTube.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, and then I just wanted to kind of say I have this. I made a public statement, Danny, about this. I really hope that the people speak out against this hate stuff, that's being published and hosted online, and it is hate. It's not about racism. This is about divide and conquer. And it's really sad. It's just, if you watch this video, it's this young man who's obviously very lost, probably sold out to the media to get famous. And what he's doing to these two children is just horrific. And
sure, they're pushing the envelope to cause the divisiveness. They're endorsing and pushing that envelope of ridiculousness to produce something like that as artistic or music worthy of anything. So I try not to even watch anything like that because I don't want to just promote it or in any way. But instantly once you just see the headlines of a hanging of a white boy by black people, it's just what it's for instantly. That it's just to insinuate
is the good people that to speak out against this. Take action. This is a hate crime. This is a hate crime. The hosting, like Danny said, the hosting should be held accountable. This is the desensitizing of child snuff in the wake of pedogate, when we, the people, are becoming acutely aware of the reality of pedogate and Pizzagate and the massive, we're all collectively still have open wounds because we haven't really gotten a resolution with regards to indictments and investigations, and we're still waiting. We're publishing a lot of it.
Getting back to the corruption of law enforcement and Child Protective Service and the government as a whole. Representatives they will go to any means necessary to cover up their crimes. Nothing is barred. They'll remove documents, remove records, anything they can do. And basically even an internal affairs complaint is worthless. The best thing to do is, they're not going to do nothing, and they'll just cover it up. But you got to get those civil complaints in there, those civil rights violation complaints. That's the only thing that will put this in the public spotlight. Mm-hmm. But they keep it hidden in internal affairs. They'll scrape records. There's no record of this child being here. There's no record of. We're dealing with a case right now in Los Angeles where they're just pulling records left and right to do anything they can to stifle
even bar
the crimes they committed. The crimes they committed against a teenager.
We have had campaigns where we have engaged the FBI, the Department of Justice, for the last 5 years in the porthole to justice, where we have sent letters and filed complaints and requested investigations, and the Department of Justice, the American Bar Association, and the FBI have all never responded to anyone, and what they send out a letter saying that they don't let people know the outcomes of their investigation. This is yes,
Nancy Schaefer talked about it. Protects the wrong people.
It's completely dismissive of these egregious crimes against our most vulnerable citizens, and that's our children. And they are all working together to just kind of sweep it under the rug, make sure that it doesn't go anywhere, and that there is no accountability. And so basically we have no oversight.
Yes, Judge Judy mentioned it. Cameras in the court. They would that if we could get that enacted. There's a lot of cameras being on all law enforcement. Cameras should be in the court. They can censor names through a proceeding and then make it public record. But that right there would really slow them down and show the public in actuality how these families are being torn apart.
For the last 6-7 years, you and I have profiled these cases in the Porthole to Justice, the Children's Coalition of Advocacy, and the normal thinking, healthy, regular person would think, oh, this needs to be adjudicated, and these people need to be eradicated from society. That's your reaction. That's what you think in your mind in a system that works. That's what would happen, but that's not what's happening. In fact, what's happened is this has been allowed to escalate. Oops, stand by. Hold on just a second. This has been allowed to escalate until it's just become an epidemic. Are you still there? Uh-oh. I think I lost my... Hold on. I did. Call failure. Okay, let's get him back. Sorry about that. So, I mean, it's just been like, this is what we've been dealing with for so many years, and I've gotten to the point to where I no longer even want to publish these templates because there's no point. They're not responding, they're not going anywhere, and it's so frustrating that I just think we need to, Okay, stand by. We're doing it. Hold on. I decided no longer to continue to publish these templates because we're not getting any responses. We're not getting any cooperation from the DOJ, the FBI, for the last 7 years, or the American Bar Association regarding these filed complaints of fraud and abuse. What's going on? Are we still there? Technical difficulties, guys. Sorry about that. Let's see. Are you there? Hello? I can't hear you. Hold on. Can you hear me? Testing. 1, 2. Testing. Well, it says I'm connected. Hello? Well, I may have lost Danny. I don't know. Well, I'm glad that we got a chance to touch base with him, because it's, you know, obviously, let's see, who's on the chat board? Hi, Jennifer Yellowhorse, you got my update. Sorry about the technical glitches. I'm trying to get my guest back on. Hello, Lisa. So, I guess on Saturday, I'm planning to have lunch with Lotus on this Saturday, and we're going to be profiling the case with Nancy Schaefer, the Honorable Nancy Schaefer. Well, oh no, I lost my guest. No answer. Hold on. Call me back. Okay. Well, so, yeah, I hope that everybody kind of, like, just, this guy, I published this letter in the Porthole to Justice regarding this child snuff stuff that was published online, and whoever's hosting this, there has to be a chain of accountability is what we're discussing. And the fact that they're, hi FB, woohoo, party's out of control now. There has to be a chain of accountability. It can't just be, you know, YouTube is allowing this child porn to be prevalent on YouTube. Facebook is hosting this simulation of child snuff, which to me, very obviously, is a hate crime. I'm trying to get my guests back on the air. So, yeah, this just, I hope that everybody, you know, really comes together this month for 20 on 20, 20 minutes of prayer and 20 minutes of meditation. It's myself, Govinda Tidball of Faith Mix, and Zeph Daniel of the Zeph Report, Cuneda from Cuneda's Ramble, Charles. All of us are coming together to pray. And, you know, this is spiritual war. Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, yay, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was just kind of rambling. But, yeah, we have more of an audience. We have FBs joining us. Jennifer Yellowhorse and Lisa is with us. Welcome, everybody. I have Danny McGowan, who I've been working with for about 7 years. And we have a social media news network. How big do you think our network is at this point, Danny?
Well, we're admin to like 50,000.
With 50,000. About 50,000 with all of them together? I thought it was more than that. Well, then we also have the New World Order Freedom Fighters, too. So we have, and then we've got some really great shows. We've got FB's show, The Awakened Target, and you can find her on Spreaker as well. Her show is really awesome. And then we have the Zeph Reports. We've got Dan the Man with Reality Radio. So we've got a really great team. But
it could easily be 100,000 with other groups. These are groups that we've created, but if you count in the groups that we're networked with, it could easily be 100,000.
Yeah, right. and I think that in itself speaks volumes for our reach and getting this message out regarding the validity of Pedogate, the undeniable validity of Pedogate. And, these indictments and convictions and just the whole misconception of what foster care is and who these children are, because they are the real targeted individuals, because they go into foster care. Not only do they age out of the foster care system, but if they have children themselves, they are targeted by the government. So they are real target individuals from a very, very young age once they are placed into the system, which is very often a prison to pipeline system. A foster care, yeah. What do they call it? Foster care, prison to pipeline. Prison pipeline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an indoctrination process, and the psychotropic drugs they're giving kids down to age 4 tend to...
Am I losing you again?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. Yeah, drugging kids down to age 4, 10 times more likely to be drugged in foster care than in the public. The dulling of the minds. They're dulling the minds through vaccinations, through psychotropic drugs, and these kids are the ones that grow up, and it gets real ugly. They inevitably become victims and die young, or they become perpetrators and commit some of the most heinous acts of crimes to other people. The same things that were done to them, they do to other people.
Yeah, and I think the saddest thing is sometimes they're unnecessarily removed from the home and separated from the parents for years, and there is no funding for keeping the family together. And what we need is we have a system that is so overgrown with corruption and so well oiled that that has no oversight, that it's going to take probably all of us in the alternative media network to really profile and expose the Child Protective Services, expose the pedogate and the corruption within the system, and just how, that whole saying that this is, these are people high up that are perpetuating these crimes and corruption that is trickling down into the children's court and the family courts, and these foster homes are being busted for, like the case in Arizona. Do you remember her name, the little girl?
Devani?
Yes, Devani. That case that we profiled, that was one of the most blatant placements of a child in a pedophile ring. This case, there's just no denying, and it's not an isolated incident, folks. It's just not. Do you remember that case, Danny?
Of course, yeah. David Fraudsham, of course, making porn videos with raping 4-year-olds, crying for mommy. It's well documented. Mother complaining. They said she's just a whining complainer, and but that there's something wrong with her child. They didn't do anything, and she was adopted by another woman, and she burns her on 80% of her body in scalding water. And they said it was a situation where the burns were where the girl was held in the water, not allowed to get out.
But what happened before she got placed into that home where the foster mother burned her with scalding water over 80% of her body was that for almost a year, or was it, I don't know the exact amount of time, but
a year and a half.
Devani, at 4 years old, was placed by Child Protective Services in Arizona in a pedophile ring for a year and a half. And the mother complained. And she was, her visits were cut off. She is no longer allowed to have communication with her daughter because she complained about the placement of her daughter and her daughter's sexual abuse. And what ended up happening was the FBI had to come in and break up this pedophile ring before Devani was actually moved into another placement with a foster mother that then proceeded to scald her all over her body. 80% of her body was badly burned. She was
high on Adderall and beer. The mother, foster mother.
Yeah. So, and Devani's story is not an isolated incident. I mean, we profile these stories. Literally, we could be profiling these stories day and night in the porthole of justice. And there are so many of them, so many that we can't get to them all. We are profiling the indictments, but we try to get to all of them. And it's just, it's out of control. And I don't know... It's going to take, and I don't know what it's going to take. We were talking about, Danny, about what the ideal would be for the funding. And I know you suggested that the funding was, there for counseling parents and keeping the family together versus, because these children are less likely to be harmed when they stay in the family, whether that be with extended biological family or with the biological parents, but they're less likely to be harmed. They're 60 to 70 times more likely to be sexually abused or physically harmed or die even in foster care.
Yes, you can go to YouTube, type in Dr. Sophie Los Angeles, and you'll likely find the video where he says that the second they're taken from a home, that they suffer brain damage, literal brain damage, and that's dealing with the synapses of the brain, that they're dulled from the moment they're taken, and then afterwards, if they're drugged and alienated and tortured, it's just compounded. But yet, it's a dulling of the mind, and it's just a systematic breakdown of the family structure for money, for pedophilia, for to destabilize communities, and just it's because the government has become just a big industry for courts, for prisons. Prisons are collecting $75,000 a year per inmate in California. It's higher than any Ivy League college tuition. So it's just a huge industry, and no politician is going to do anything. They're not going to bring change. The only change is going to come from the outside.
No, and in fact, at the top of the show, we mentioned that we have 11 mayors and governors that across the United States that either have allegations, are resigning for allegations, or they have indictments for possessing child porn, or allegations of sexual abuse with children, minor children, very young children, as young as 4 years old.
We need demand education very early on, starting from maybe kindergarten, just basic elements of what is right and what is wrong, what is inappropriate. They need to be students. All children should be educated very early on. foster kids, especially, as to what is right and what is wrong, and it doesn't have to be really like adult matter, but it can be very subtle as to this is right, this is wrong, touching.
Well, it can't be any worse. I mean, teaching children about boundaries, it can't be any worse than the sexualization that we have being funded right now and promoted by our kindergarten teachers, which is, basically a ruse for sexualizing the children at a very young age, which is teaching the gender fluidity or transgenderism. And the whole case for sexualizing the children at this age, it is just, to me, is repugnant. I don't think that we should be having that in our kindergarten classrooms. I think children should be allowed to experience the maturation process freely, without the influence or sexualization at such a young age. I don't know. I just...
Sure. I'm not talking in depth, but I'm just talking on surface level, what is appropriate, what is not, and how to deal with it. And
no, what I'm saying is that it can't be any worse than what they're teaching right now. It's so upside down. And how did we get here? How did we get to this point, folks? How did we get here where nobody says anything and it gets this far? That we're basically living in a nightmare.
Yes, and it's it's just a segment of the population. It's 1, maybe 3%. So that's their target market. It's a small percentage. It's a lot of victims, but in the scheme of things, it's a small population of a small segment of the population.
Yeah, it's Satanism, Lisa. You're absolutely correct, and it's an attack. It's an attack on the family unit and our children, which are our most valuable resource and most vulnerable. So, well,
sure.
I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon here. Thank you so much for coming on today, Danny. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I wish we had better stuff to report. Jeez. We hopefully we had a missing girl in that's posted in the Porthole to Justice. Let me just go over that really quick before I close out the hour. She is let's see, I think she's 16 or 17, and this is out of Canada. And she's not missing in state care, so there is no Amber Alert. So the only option for parents that have children that are just regular civilians, is the internet. And so the SPAL, which is a police service in Canada, is looking for Ariane Knoll, age 17, and she was last seen August 30th at the Vue Longueuil, which is in Montreal, and she could be anywhere in the greater Montreal area. She's beautiful, 17-year-old teenager, and she is a missing teen. She was last seen August 17th, 2017, and we have a mem, and if you guys could just share that in the Porthole to Justice, that would be awesome, because we make it go viral, we get the word out, and hopefully she gets home, because she is at risk. She has a compromised health situation where she does need medicine. So if you do know where she is or see her, please contact 911 right away. Okay, everybody. Danny, thank you so much. Any last words?
No, just foster care. That's the Achilles heel of the system. If we can have a moratorium on foster care until certain standards are met, cameras in court, no hearsay, no criminal charges, no children removed, are met, and that's the Achilles heel is foster care. They have nowhere to put them. They will inevitably have to keep them with family and use that money to keep them where they're safer.
Amen. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in. This has been another episode of Off the Cuff with myself, Amelia Duran, Porthole to Justice, the window to the truth. Have a great evening, guys.